Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Extravaganza with Lou and Mitch, minus Lou. Lou was not feeling well this evening, and he asked me to take over tonight solo. So that is what I am doing. I'm glad I can provide you all with some fun conversation, which we will have with our three guests upcoming. Before we get to our first guest at 7:05, as you all know, we have a World Series champion. Baseball season is over. Heck of a series. A lot of folks were Toronto Blue Jays fans. I was one of them. Tough way to tough way to lose. Former Philly Jeff Hoffman giving up the game tying home run. And then Will Smith comes through with the game winner. So baseball season is over. Now the fun starts. It is just about free agent time. I believe that is 5 days after the World Series ends, and I believe that is tomorrow officially. We will talk with our first guest about who the Phillies who opted out of the club options and who the Phillies have picked up the option on for the next season. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and free agency in just a few minutes. As you know, in full swing now, the NBA. Surprising start for the Philadelphia 76ers. They're playing pretty well. This kid Edgecombe is pretty good. So we'll see what happens during the season. Embiid's getting load management time. And we'll see what happens. Though I'm not a huge basketball fan, I will follow them and continue to see what happens with that team. In hockey, I am a New York Ranger fan, so I will follow them. Not expecting too much, but we'll see what happens. Anything can happen. It all is about goalies in the NHL, and like any professional sport, it's about injuries. And if teams stay relatively healthy, then they got a shot like anybody else. So that's pretty much. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on. We will talk in just a few minutes with our first guest, Nick Piccone. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He will no doubtedly correct me, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. We will talk about the free agent market. We will talk about what he thinks the Phillies need to do, what they should do, what he thinks will happen in the offseason. And then we'll talk a bit about the Eagles and their two new pickups, Jalen Phillips and Jair Alexander, and talk about the upcoming schedule with the Green Bay Packers on Monday night, which most of us will not be able to watch, though I found out yesterday you can get Sling TV, a day pass for Sling TV for $4.99. So that'll give you ESPN, and Eagles fans will be able to watch there. I don't know if any bars or establishments are able to get it in a different way. So we'll see what happens. My wife and I are thinking, maybe we'll go to a sports bar, but who knows? You just may do this Sling TV for the day, $4.99, and because the Eagles have another Monday night game coming up later against the Chargers, so we'll see what happens. Speaking of see what happens, my first guest is here, and I'm glad he is, because I got to tell you, this guy is a blessing. Living in North Carolina, I don't get to watch. I watch the Phillies on MLB, but I don't get to hear a lot of the home calls. And Scott Fransky is really good, and I love hearing this. So this guy, I don't know how he does it, and maybe Nick will tell us real quickly how he gets those feeds onto Twitter. So let's welcome him in. Nick, how are you?
What's up, Mitch? Thanks for having me. Glad we
Hey,
can do it.
thanks for coming on. I got to ask you, Nick, really, how do you get those feeds?
It's actually easier the last couple of years. They've just made it available locally, right? So you can listen to it on the internet, and that's a lot easier than listen to it on the radio and trying to record with a microphone or something like that. So as long as I'm able to get it, happy to share it. I know MLB has the feeds for if you subscribe to MLB TV, they have all the radio feeds. So that's actually kind of how I started getting those calls.
I got to tell you, you're the first person I look for on Twitter. When I miss the calls from Fransky, I go, oh, I don't listen to the Spanish ones or the other, but I do listen to the other, like the Mets calls, and you post them at the playoffs at the end of the season. I just like, oh, it's just too bad. But
So that's funny. I never really thought about it until I saw somebody ask like the Mets had a bad loss. I usually really never paid attention to teams other than mine, especially in the thick of the season. And that's kind of just been a fun little thing to start doing. Start paying attention to the rivals. I call them. That's what I have a folder that just has rivals.
Yeah.
On it. So as the labels. So I kind of have some fun with that too.
It's great. And like I said, I don't listen when I'm on MLB. I actually am listening to the TV to Tom McCarthy, and to me, Fransky is one of the best. It's one of the best because I listen to a lot of other stations and games. He's so good, especially with that home run call. I mean, he's so good. Gets excited. You hear the fan, and he gets into it so well, as you know. So thank you for doing that. It really makes my evening when I can put in my earpods and go, oh my gosh, thank you, Nick, for giving me Fransky at these cool moments.
I do appreciate that, and it's really the 2022 World Series run. Obviously, I've been doing it for years, different Philly teams, but that run is really when people started taking notice. And, I had people that were living abroad from Philly and say, like, listen, like, that's the only way we can really listen to those local calls. And I never really thought about that until, I was told that people messaging me and stuff like that. So I try to make it like a priority now to, as long as I can keep doing it, I want to keep doing it.
Keep doing it, my friend. It's awesome. It's awesome. All right, let's talk about the offseason. So they just picked up the option on Alvarado. We know that Bader is going to be seeking something else. And do you think, here's my questions. I got a feeling that they will. I want to hear what you think. Are they going to get Schwarber back? Are they going to sign him?
Sign Bader?
Schwarber.
Schwarber. Okay. Listen, 2 months ago, I would have said there's no way that they would let him walk. Obviously, the playoffs, you take that into account a little bit. But if Dave Dombrowski truly believes Schwarber is the best clubhouse leader in baseball, then there's absolutely no way he'll let him walk now. It kind of sucks that I was hoping he would re-sign him before this past season started.
Right.
So as I think when the season started, we heard from Schwarber's camp that's like, yeah, we're not discussing contract during the season. And I thought maybe that'd be a good thing. And it really, 56 home runs, right? So it was most RBIs in the league. It really seemed like a good thing at the time. Obviously, the skidding towards the end and the playoffs, as a fan, you get like angry about it. You're like, why couldn't he just do what he did during the season? But I think they really can't afford to let him go. I really don't. He's, made for this team. I feel like he's made for this city. He's really, as much people talk about, he's a leader. He's kind of shown that as well. And he's a TV star on Abbott Elementary. So how can you let that go?
That is true. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Dombrowski, I believe, really wants to keep him. So it's going to be about, and I do think he might give them a hometown discount. I mean, I'm hearing numbers that 5 years and 100 and whatever. I don't know what that number was at 5, but I think 5's almost too much. 3 is. I don't think he'll want to go 3. I think right in the middle of 4. And will he command, $40 million a year, 160 or 150. I don't know, but I'm thinking that's around the range. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd like a 4-year deal. I'd even go 5. I mean, he's a DH, so they seem to age pretty well in today's MLB. If he's not playing, if he would he play the field 4 times this year, maybe
Yeah.
a handful.
Yeah.
So he'll probably still do that here and there, but depending on what they do with the outfield, like I definitely don't think he's going to spot start at first base or anything like that, like he did in Boston. But I think get him out in the field once or twice a year. Why not? Especially give your guys a break here and there. 4 years seems like what I would anticipate. The offer from the Phillies. Now you got to worry about other teams if they're willing to give him 5. I mean, I was a little bit of a troll during the season when it came to the Mets. I was like, oh, Kyle Schwarber's going to be a Met. He's going to be a Met, just kind of messing around. But I kind of hope that doesn't come back to bite me a little bit because I can see the Mets throwing a ton of money at him too. They don't really have a DH. Juan Soto's going to be in the field. He's not going to be their DH. Yeah, I don't know if they'll bring back Alonso, but I have a hard time seeing him sign with another team just based off last offseason. I thought that was a better opportunity for the Phillies to get someone like Alonso and just move Bryce back to the outfield. Because they didn't do that, I don't think they want to move Bryce to the outfield, even though I would be fine with it. I think he's still young enough. He's become a great first baseman, so you're gonna get worse defensively if you do move him, no matter who you sign. But it's one of those things where you just don't know how the dominoes are going to fall. And if push comes to shove, I would rather see Harper in the outfield and then get someone like Alonso at first base, so you could keep Kyle as the DH and not have to worry about that spot. Because I don't know, I know. Even with the Dodgers, they had Ohtani as DH most of the time, and it's I don't mind that in today's MLB. I used to hate the DH in the NL. I've obviously come around to that because I have no other choice really, and just having a guy that's just a DH and that can't really help you in the field, I'm fine with that as long as he can continue hitting the way he did.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the DH, he's not. It's not hurting his body at all, right? Unless he pulls a Springer and swings too hard and hurts an oblique. But he seems, he's been healthy. He's played. My other question is, how do you replace 128, 6, whatever it is, RBIs? Unless you get an Alonso, and I don't know that that's gonna. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think I would rather see Harper. You need a decent infield. Now let's go to the next infield question I have for you. Stott's not going anywhere. I really wish he would get better with it with his bat. I mean, I thought he was going to be a consistent 250 hitter. You can take that from a second baseman, hit the occasional homer, drive in some runs. But he's not going anywhere because of his defense. Turner's not going anywhere. What are your thoughts on Bohm? Because that's a big, big question amongst a lot of Philly fans. I like him let me put it this way. He's been a terrific clutch hitter in the past. 2 out RBIs. Phenomenal. Not this past year so much, the year before. What do we think is going to happen with Bohm? And then as we go forward, the outfield. Bader probably is gone. What are we doing in the outfield? So let's start with Bohm first.
Yeah, I don't hate Bohm the way I felt like maybe a couple of years ago. I don't think he's your 4 hitter, and the fact that you had to bat him 4th because of the lineup construction was just a disservice to basically the entire lineup. And obviously that falls on Dave because the guys they had just could not do it. Marsh would be great, 6 or below. Bohm would be great, 6 or below. Correct. The fact that you had to bat them 4 or 5. And JT kind of fallen off a little bit, even though he did a little bit better this year than last year. Just that I would not like to lose Bohm because his defense has gotten better.
Yes.
He's just solid there. He's not a Gold Glover, but he's not terrible like he was years ago defensively. Right. So if you can get someone to fill that, and maybe it's another third baseman. I know Alex Bregman's out there that people are talking about, but if you have to get someone behind Harper, and then you have to get someone behind in the 5 hole, that you could just depend on and rely on. And, we were hoping Bohm would turn into that, maybe at the 5 or 6, but the 4 hole, absolutely not. I really liked the setup they had when Schwarber was batting behind Harper, and I was hoping they would stick with that longer. But you don't have protection for Harper, and I understand like he didn't really have a clutch bone in his body this past year.
No.
But I try not to dwell on that because I do think Harper is trying. People are talking about his body language and all that. It's like, well, like things change. When he signed here, he was not a father. Like he might not want to act like that on the field because he knows his kids are watching. People don't talk about that. I think part of that body language with Harper is because he doesn't want his kids to see him just act like a clown. So the whole body language thing, I don't think it might have something to do with the contract extension he wanted a couple of years ago. But I do think he's here for the long haul. I do think he's trying to get better. Maybe that wrist was bothering him all year more than we know. But, I do think that he can. I don't think he's going to fall off as it's like people are worried about, him getting older, his body breaking down a little bit. I'm not there yet. I'm a little worried, but I'm not like, oh, we need to figure out a plan for Harper yet because I think he's just so important to this team, just the way Kyle Schwarber is. And obviously, Trey Turner, he's not going anywhere either. So those 3 guys, if you can bring Schwarber back, those 3 have to be a lot better than they were against the Dodgers.
Absolutely. Real quickly, though, I did have Greg Murphy on a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, I said, maybe Harper has been hurt. He goes, hold on, let me tell you something. I was 2 weeks before the season ended, and they were in Arizona. And I sat down with Harper, and I said, how you feeling? Is everything okay? Now, he said that Harper said, I'm fine. There's no issues, not a big deal. Do we take him for his word? I guess, but you don't know. I mean, is he going to tell anybody the truth?
Right.
We don't know that.
I don't think he's like an excuse maker either. Like he probably doesn't want to get that label. He by his own admission, he listens to sports talk radio. So if he says something like that, they'll take it and run with it and be like, oh, he's making excuses. That's why. Like, I'm sure he doesn't want any of that. I'm sure he wants to be their first team.
Yeah. So free agent market. Okay, so we're looking at the outfield. So I think you're right. Bohm. The only reason I don't want Bohm back, and this may not have anything to do with anything but me hearing it, when he gave the excuse about having to deal with the intensity in the playoffs that he mentioned this year in an interview, I was like, you know what? You can't deal with the pressure. Get out. That was a telltale sign for me. Now, that's walking himself backwards to, I can't stand this effing place. Get me at whatever. Remember when he said that when he made those 2 errors in a row. So his brain's got to get better. He's got to get a better fit in his brain that he's under a microscope when you're playing in Major League Baseball on a major on a very good team who fans are depending upon him to perform. So be that as it may, Kyle Tucker, 28, plays the outfield. Bregman, number 2. I'm looking at Mark Feinstein from today. He put out the top 32 free agents. Bregman's number 2. Schwarber's number 3. Bo Bichette, not going to happen. Cody Bellinger is another one. So what do we do with the outfield? What's going to happen with the outfield?
I mean, you lose if you do get rid of Castellanos. That's a right-handed bat.
Please. Bye, Nick. See you later. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
I understand. I have a hard time saying bye to him, but like it, I don't think there's a choice really at this point, especially with the way the last year played out. But guys like Tucker and Bellinger, lefties, like you're gonna have another left-handed bat. Like
that's true. You know what?
That
you're right. Yeah,
I'm not against that, but I understand that's how baseball is nowadays. And Schwarber and Harper back to back is the outlier, like especially with the way they hit lefties. So I don't know if you get like another great-handed lefty bat. That's why Pete Alonso just sticks out to me. I think he would be a better signing than most of these guys, and that doesn't pain me. But it's like, I can't I can't make fun of the Mets anymore and Pete Alonso because he's going to be on my team. But the bat, speaks for itself. And,
Yeah.
If that's what this team needs, then that's what this team needs. And I think Bohm's gone. I do think
You do think he's
Cassidy's
gone?
gone. I
Yeah.
do. I think they will, the
Well,
rumors were out there last offseason.
correct. Right. They were.
I think
Yeah.
this is the offseason where they will pull the trigger and maybe they don't love a deal, but they might just pull the trigger.
You're right. I think you're right. I mean, yes, they were shopping him quite a bit last year. So, yeah, he's probably on the top of their list. Bregman, who knows? There's other third basemen out there, like we said. I'm looking at the number 17 out of the top 30 is Trent Grisham. Outfielder is 29. There aren't that many outfielders.
Right.
A lot of pitchers.
I guess is Marsh still your left fielder?
Yeah.
I would. You got to look at 3 spots. I mean, if Marsh stays, and you got to make sure it's not. You don't want to back yourself into another platoon at a different spot. Will Johan Rojas be up here? That's something to consider. Are they going to eventually give him the reins as it every day? Those are I hope not, because I think we've already seen he is what he is.
I don't think he's an everyday player.
Yeah, bench player maybe, but I don't think he's going to be a starter for the Phillies. Now they might trade him, but it's all about what you get back. So
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go. There's a whole lot more to talk about, but I want to get your thoughts on the Eagles coming up. Jair Alexander and Jalen Phillips are now part of the team. They got the edge rusher. They got the cornerback. Guys are getting healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Next 3 games: Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago. So give me your thoughts. What do you think about those additions and the upcoming next 3 games that we may not get to watch on Monday night?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they go 2-1, I think that's a big win. Definitely, even though if you're a fan of those teams, you're like, oh, the Eagles are coming up. So the Eagles are a big test for every team from here on out. Going to Green Bay is tough, even off a bye, but I do think they can win there. I don't think they've kind of had Green Bay's number a little bit. Green Bay's gotten better since the last time they played, and the season opener last year was, I think, was closer than the playoff game was. I think the Eagles kind of dictated the playoff game a little bit more than the score let on. So I think, I mean, I could see them losing that, but I think they win that. And I think Detroit's the game where they kind of fall a little bit. Just, you're not going to win every game, and they have a really brutal schedule. They've had a brutal schedule all season, and this is even though you have a bye, it's still pretty tough coming out of it. So I do think Detroit it can be, probably will be a loss, and then I think they do beat Chicago. But if they could go 2-1, 1-2 is not the end of the world. Can't go 0-3. Just
right.
You would hope not. This team has shown that they're hopefully incapable of losing 3 in a row. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that offensive line, if they can now get more cohesive and continue to open those holes for Saquon. How about Tank? Holy mackerel!
Yeah.
So
I thought maybe they would move Dylan or something like that, but I don't think they released AJ Dillon at all. So I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder how that's going to play out. But yeah, Tank should be the backup, just based off one game, because if he could do that, I like AJ Dillon. I've always kind of had a soft spot for him, but I this year he hasn't really shown he might be done. So
yeah, I mean, you're right. Tank just, he showed that he is basically a tank. He did his name. It was just phenomenal to watch him 100 yards. And a lot of it was, they opened the holes and he just kept going. It was great to see somebody else they can go to without Saquon, not have to be Saquon to get those yards.
Yeah.
Let's see. Excuse me. Yeah, Green Bay, Detroit, the Bears. And I think you got the Chargers in LA. You got Dallas. You got 2 at the Commanders.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if they can go 2-1 here, I mean, listen, knock on wood, the division is theirs. I mean, that's just easy, right? It's now I mean, we can look to the playoffs. They can't, obviously. And the toughest opponents, I think, are going to be, who do you think?
I think Green Bay is going to be tough, even though I think they'll win there. I think in the playoffs, Green Bay, the Bucks could still be tough, even though they beat them. Still think they're up there a bit. I think the Rams again can be the team to beat them. I mean, it was a miracle they beat the Rams at the Link like a couple months ago. So can't depend on that happening all the time. And I do think the Rams pose the best shot in the NFC.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these 2 additions really help them out. I mean, listen, you needed that edge rusher, and he got somebody.
Yeah.
He knows Vic,
Right.
and Vic knows him, and that's, I think, really a big key to that pickup. I think that Vic had a big influence in saying, yeah, let's pick him up if we can get him, because I can motivate him to play and put him in a position to be successful. So
and you get Nolan Smith back too. So
exactly. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, the defense hopefully will get better. And isn't it interesting how, I mean, there's 2 things. I'm not gonna go on the tush push because we know what people think and what they say. But Jalen doesn't nationally get the credit he deserves, I don't think. And it's he's played. And is it just because he's just so focused on the field and he's not really rah-rah? He's having a phenomenal season. It's amazing. And yet the pundits, these quarterbacks are at this point or I rate them higher than.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I do think you look back even last year, Jalen just kind of reading the defense before the snap, calling audibles, stuff like that. He's doing that more. He might not always see the open guy, but the best quarterbacks don't always see the open guy. So It's like they're just nitpicking. I think today's social media, you can look at the all 22 all the time. Look at replays instantaneously and make a judgment based off that 5 minutes after a play happens.
Exactly.
2 minutes after a play happens.
Yeah.
You don't see whatever goes into it, and then you hear the players talk, and then you've already made your judgment. So the player gets to be like, oh, well, I saw this and I saw that. And you're like, nope, he must be terrible then, because that's not what I saw when I was sitting down watching on TV.
So accurate.
There's so much that goes into just one play, just one play. There's 11 guys on the field. Like it's crazy that the discourse has gotten this bad in terms of QBs, and it over extends itself to then you get people hating on great QBs just because they're not giving Jalen credit. So you see like all the Justin Herbert hate and stuff like that. So then you get like the back and forth, and it's just like, why even bother, man? Like, why even bother?
Exactly. All right, Nick, listen, I got to let you go, but I really appreciate you taking time. It's so great to finally talk to you and see you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. We were able to make this happen finally.
Yeah, and just again, what you do during the season is just, I love it. Half the time I'm sitting in bed with my iPad and I go, oh, I gotta listen to this. I searched you if you're not already on there, right? And I know it's coming. It's awesome.
I try to do it as quick as I can.
Appreciate that very much. All right, Nick, be well. Have a great holiday season.
Yeah,
all right.
You too.
And be safe. And we'll talk. Maybe we'll talk after New Year as we get past the winter meetings, and we'll talk some more Phillies.
Sounds good. Have a good one, man. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. All right. That was great to have Nick on. He's knowledgeable about Phillies and Eagles. He puts those clips on Twitter, and it's great to listen to, because if you can't listen because you're in North Carolina and they're playing in Philly, I could put, I guess, the radio broadcast on. They won't sync up with TV. That's why I love hearing. If I don't get to hear Scott Fransky, I get to listen to him and make the calls on my iPad with Nick's assistance. Speaking of making the calls, here comes somebody who's made a lot of calls. Been a sports broadcaster for many, many years with the Kansas City Royals. Let's bring him on now. We're going to talk some more baseball. Joel Goldberg, how are you, Joel?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Really, really good. How are things in KC these days?
Not so bad. Feels like a million years ago that baseball ended, at least for us. Not quite as long for the Phillies, but now that the World Series is over, it's full. It's full off-season mode, and that's fun sometimes too, just to be able to, the Royals just signed Salvador Perez to an extension yesterday.
I saw that.
So the news is starting, which is fun.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's over. The playing is over. But you know what? Everybody that follows baseball closely, we know there's lots of stuff coming out in the next several months, which is exciting. Yeah. So what do you think of that World Series?
It's one of the best of all time. And, I wrote a little piece today that I put up on my website and out to some of my newsletter subscribers that there's and rightfully so, there's so much angst over, how much money the Dodgers spend and how they've outspent everyone. And certainly in a smaller market like Kansas City, but I think in most places, we're not, the difference between them and just about everyone else other than maybe the Mets, even the Yankees, is so drastic. And we know that's not good for baseball. And we know we're going to be having a different discussion a year from now over the 2027 season. But what I wrote was that, yes, all of that matters. But look at how in part the Dodgers won the last two games, and especially the final game. They did so with Miguel Rojas being the star or one of the stars. They did so with Andy Pages, who was basically taken out of the lineup to insert Rojas, a 36-year-old veteran. I wouldn't call him a journeyman, but certainly not a household name for anyone, Dodgers and Marlins, really. And yet he's the guy that hits the home run in the ninth. That's the beauty of the playoffs. Heroes come from out of nowhere sometimes. And he makes the big play, throwing it to home with bases loaded. And right after that, it's Pages, who had just entered the game as a defensive replacement, trucking over Kike Hernandez. The Dodgers do not win this World Series without those two guys. That is not to minimize the issues that baseball has, but it's a reminder that it still takes those role players to get things done. So that was one of my takeaways of the World Series. The other piece was, come on, if you have any interest whatsoever in baseball, regardless of who you were rooting for, and I know for Phillies fans, it can be a little bit difficult to root for the Blue Jays if you still have some PTSD from 1993. But it was a heck of a series. If you like sports and you like competition at the highest level, you can't get any better than what we just saw.
It was really fun to watch. I wasn't, just to let you know, I wasn't a Phillies fan back in '93. I was a Mets fan. But I watched. And I know my brother went to a lot of the World Series games. He's from Philly. I didn't realize you were from Philly too.
13 years, and I know it depends on who's listening and watching. I was in South Jersey, which I've always thought qualified as Philly.
Yeah.
We went to school wearing Phillies hats and Eagles hats and Sixers hats and Flyers hats and shirts and jerseys, and I was wearing Flyers gear, playing street hockey in the neighborhood and all that type of stuff. We moved when I was 13 to the Midwest, but those were my teams growing up. The funny thing, and I told this story on stage, I was emceeing or co-emceeing the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, which is located here in Kansas City. They have annual awards that they call the Hall of Game. And really at this point, because there's so few Negro Leaguers that are left alive, it's really different theme awards every year to honor those that are carrying on the legacy. And this year, the legacy was African-American managers. And so the four men that we honored were Dusty Baker. That's a no-brainer, one of the greatest of all time. Cito Gaston, who, led those two Blue Jays teams that won in 1992 and 93. Those were two of the big ones, Willie Randolph, who, of course, you'll know from your New York days. Well, if you're a baseball fan, you'll know Willie Randolph, and so we were up there, and I was seated at a table next to Joe Carter.
Oh,
now I'm thinking back to 1993. I was a college intern at that point, and my job as a 21-year-old kid was to log all the plays on a sheet so that the editor could edit the plays. And I just remember I still love those Phillies at that point. Now it's just business to me. They're just another team, and that's a little bit of being in my profession. You just you lose that innocence, I guess, and that emotion that every fan should have. But I remember watching that home run from Joe Carter. I've never really seen the full home run again in my life. I just remember writing it down and sitting there in a trance for what must have been 20 minutes, just stunned like I had just been knocked out. And here I am sitting next to Joe Carter. Now, I've met Joe a few times. He lives here in Kansas City, but I don't know him well at all. I mean, he doesn't come around the ballpark. He's not a former Royal, but he'd gone to Wichita State. He settled down here, the whole works. And I took a selfie with him because I'm over it now. I mean, I don't know if I could watch the homer, but I just, I meet the Joe Carters of this world in my job every time, and they're people and they're good guys and all that. So I took a selfie. I sent it to my brother. He gave me a thumbs down emoji because he still, bleeds Phillies red, even though he lives in the Pacific Northwest. And so as I'm introducing Cito Gaston to the stage, I told that story in the thumbs down, and it got such a good laugh from everyone because it's everything that sports is about. Yeah. And I sent it to a few other Philly people from back in my day, and they all had the same reaction. It still hurts to be able to see that home run.
A walk off like that, absolutely, it sticks with you. It just has to. Listen, I felt for. I was rooting for them at the time. My brother was there. You go, family roots, family teams, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. God.
I mean, it was. I mean, look, any walk off is exciting, but
yes,
to win a World Series. Oh, I mean, come on.
Crazy. It was a fun series. It really was. I mean, what I love about baseball, Joel, and this isn't necessarily because of the World Series, Bobby Witt Jr., right? I love the young kids coming up and being successful. You don't know these names until you start. Season starts. I'm focusing on the Phillies in spring training, then maybe the National League East, and then you come to see and hear and read on ESPN or any other sports blog. They've got these young kids and how successful they are, right? That's what I really love about baseball right now. I can appreciate that and look for who's going to be the next superstar next year. This year, Savage kid. I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah. Hopefully he can continue to do what he did in this series. To me, it's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, we'll see on your Savage. I mean, I think that obviously he's got great stuff, but it's too early to tell. He clearly has the nerves or lack thereof of a veteran. It's very clear to me that no moment is going to be too big to him. The question now is, I mean, this is the guy that entered the playoffs with 3 big league games. One of them, by the way, was against the Royals, and they were the one team that hit him around. But he has such a unique release point, so over the top,
right?
That what I want to see, because I didn't hear him being labeled as the next Paul Skeens or the next superstar. So either the assessments on him were wrong, or the league's going to catch up, and that's the beauty of the game too. Right. They've now started to see it. They're going to start to understand what it looks like coming out of his hand from that high release. Will they make the adjustments or not? If he has a great year next year, and he'd be a Rookie of the Year candidate next year, if he has a great year next year, you're right. That's the beauty of the game. The Royals called up a young catcher in September who I think will be the heir apparent to Salvador Perez, and he's a local kid. That doesn't happen a lot for us here. I don't know about for you guys out there. I mean, I think if you're not in Florida and you're not in California or maybe Texas, it's a little bit rare when you have a local kid. Certainly here in the Midwest. I mean, anywhere that has cold weather, where they're not playing 12 months a year. There just aren't as many of them. And so here's a kid the Royals drafted 4 or 5 years ago that made his debut, and he could flat out hit. And I remember I had an executive within the Royals organization who texted me. And when I say an executive, it's not going to be the GM or anything like that, but someone that wouldn't know like how the voting and the eligibility rules work. But he was crushing it in November and just doing all kinds of cool things. His name's Carter Jensen.
Okay.
And this executive said, is he going to be eligible for the Rookie of the Year next year? I'm like, yeah, actually he will, just being a September call-up. And he will be a legitimate candidate because they will, I think, have him catch. The catching's a little behind the hitting, but maybe catch 2 or 3 days a week. But they'll want his bat in the lineup almost every day as a DH when Salvador Perez is catching, because he's that rare kid, and he's 22, that has a phenomenal strike zone judgment ability. And some guys never get that ever. But to me, it's like at 22 years old, if you've got it, you'll have that forever.
Exactly.
And, so that's fun. Like and that's always been the case in every sport. We love the new young players. It's new blood. It's new life, right? And anytime I'll tell you what, I talked to. See, we were in Philly this September, so it would have been 2 years ago. It would have been 2023. Oh, you'll remember this. Not my conversation, but I talked with Trey Turner when we were in Philly in 2023. You will remember that was the series that Phillies fans decided they were going to pull together and cheer him on to pull him out of that slump.
Yep.
And my first reaction, as was the reaction of our GM, JJ Piccone, who grew up in Cherry Hill, my first reaction was, these aren't the Phillies fans that I remember growing up. You don't band together to pull someone out of a slump. You let that player know that he's not worth a damn. So I think we're in a different world right now, maybe a happier place. But I remember that one because they willed him to pull out of that slump, and my goodness, he did. But I also remember talking to him before the game, and the reason why I bring up that story, along with the fact that I think anyone that's a Phillies fan will remember that time period, is that I don't know Trey, and he's coming off the field and he's walking in the dugout, and I said, Trey, and he looked at me, and I'm sure at that point he wanted nothing to do with anybody in the media because he was just wearing it. And we know his talent. We know the money he's making. There's a lot of pressure on that. He wasn't performing. And he kind of gives me a look. He could tell that I'm somebody in media. I said, hey, I'm Joel Goldberg with the Kansas City Royals. Do you have a minute to talk about Bobby Witt Jr.? And he was so relieved to not have to talk about his slump. Like, oh, thank goodness. And I just remember him talking about it because, Turner was the higher ranked shortstop at that point. But anyone you talk to said, as great as Trey Turner is, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be better.
Yeah.
And that obviously became true real quickly. I mean, at that point it was, and I asked him about him because they'd been teammates on the World Baseball Classic.
Okay.
That would have been that year, and early that year before the season. And Witt barely played. He was basically there at, 22 years old just to learn. And he got in a little bit of action, and Trey basically said, yeah, he's going to be the man. And now you look at all the promos for the World Baseball Classic and all the promos they had during the World Series had Judge in the middle and Witt on one side. And I think it was Stephen Kwan maybe on the other side. That in itself is going to be fun. But back to your point too, I mean, like to watch Bobby Witt Jr. every day is just something really special.
It's fun, isn't it? All right, I got to get to this one. The upcoming potential probably will happen lockout.
Yeah, I wouldn't say potential or probably. I'm just going to say right now it's going to happen. And I hope I'm wrong.
All right, Joel. It's primarily about the salary cap, right? How do they solve this? How can they solve this issue? What are your thoughts? I just want to get your thoughts. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the business. I don't know all the details. What are your thoughts on this?
It's almost like who's going to figure out their crap first, the government shutdown or this? I don't mean to equate the two, because the government shutdown in the world of people losing jobs is much greater than whoever's going to lose jobs in baseball. Actually, when the baseball stuff happens, I think first and foremost about the vendors and the people that aren't going to get paid. By the way, I won't get paid either, but I'll be all right. I do worry about a lot of those people. But the reason why I mentioned the government shutdown, which probably isn't the smartest move on my part, because I don't like to talk about politics and I'm not going to, is that it always feels like they avoid that stuff or eventually figure it out by plugging a hole, by putting a Band-Aid on it. And so the reason why I brought that up is it's going to be the same thing. They're not going to solve it. They're going to waste time. They're going to play a game of chicken. And in the end, they'll find something that gets them to play again for the next 3, 4, 5 years, whatever the contract is. I mean, until there's a salary cap. And by the way, I'm probably like most fans to say, gosh, the sport would be so much better, especially being in a smaller market with a salary cap. With that said, like I've lived around a player's world forever. I work with a lot of former players that are my broadcast teammates, and they are adamant about the work that they have done for their union to give these players the right to make all the money. I never, ever begrudge a player. Like I always, when someone says, "Oh, how much should these guys be worth? How much money are you going to pay them?" You don't say that about a Hollywood star. You don't say that about someone making movies. I've always said that a player, or anyone for that matter in any profession, is worth what someone will pay them.
Right.
And so, it's how could you leave so-and-so team for $300 million? I mean, they're offering them 250. What's the difference? $50 million. You'd take it too. So I understand the player side of it. I understand the owner's side and really the fan side of it. I think we all know that if the model was more like the NFL or the NBA, that we would be better. Now, we've been lucky that, look at this year. They didn't go far in the playoffs, but the Milwaukee Brewers were one of the best teams in the league. And they did so with a payroll about $5 million on opening day versus the Dodgers that were $325 or something. So you can do it. But what I say all the time, having been in a small market like this for a lot of years, 18 years, is you got to get everything right, including the luck, to get there. The Royals went to back-to-back World Series in 14 and 15. It is doable, but you got to get the right people. You got to stay healthy. You got to have the right culture. Like I really think that the Yankees, and maybe the Mets to some extent too, get it wrong so many years because they just collect. It seems to me sometimes that they just collect the highest dollar players. And if it doesn't work out, they'll just go get somebody else.
Yeah.
Because they got a higher credit card limit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now that hasn't happened. The Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009.
Right.
The Royals won one in 15. But the Royals, the Brewers, the Cleveland Guardians, the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, there's a handful of teams. I don't know if the Marlins just have to catch lightning in a bottle in a year and then they go backwards, but they're not a great model. But those teams have to get everything right. And so it's such an unfair advantage because you can't buy your way out of anything.
Nope.
Unless you're the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Cubs or the Phillies to some extent.
The Phillies,
too, right? And look, kudos to the Phillies and Dave Dombrowski. And if you're a fan base in Philadelphia, you should want your team spending as much money. But it certainly becomes interesting if there's a cap and you have to be more strategic about it. Where am I going to spend my money? Right. So really what happens for the smaller markets is you got to get the Bobby Witt Juniors right. Exactly. So the Royals did a great thing. They, and looking back, I don't know what the Orioles would say. The Orioles had a crack at Bobby Witt Jr. They ended up going Adley Rutschman. Switch hitting catcher, the center of your franchise. That made sense. I mean, I don't, to go back and begrudge them is like saying, maybe the Rockets should have taken Michael Jordan instead of Hakeem Olajuwon. But they did okay. I'm not convinced that Adley Rutschman is at the level of Olajuwon, but you get my point. Like, it made sense why they did that at the time. But for the Royals, they were going to make a really easy choice, whichever guy was available, I think. But then again, they also had Salvador Perez. So it really worked out perfectly for them. And then, he gets to the big leagues 4 years later, and then a couple years later, they sign him to a massive contract. And in a market this size, you got to be really careful with that because it could ruin your franchise for about a decade. We really saw it when the Minnesota Twins had chose to go all in on Justin Morneau and Joe Mauer, and then as injuries and age started to creep in, it really set them back a lot of years, but they wanted to keep the local kid in Mauer. But the Royals were able to sign Bobby Witt Jr. before he turned, I think, 24. And so we're not talking about locking up a guy that you're going to have to deal with at 36, 38, 40 years old. When the Angels were dealing with Pujols at the end, or so many of these teams that deal with guys that are, at 38, 39, 40, they were planning on that all along. They can handle it. So anyway, to your point, how are they going to figure it out? I have no idea, other than to say I don't think they will.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the common thread.
I hate to be a pessimist about it, but I'm also a realist.
Listen, it's everybody. I think 90% of the people think it's going to
happen. I mean, I hope they surprise us. It'd be one of the greatest gifts for baseball fans, the industry and the history of this game that we've ever had. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. All right, Joel. I wish we had more time. We'll get you on again, maybe after the winter meetings, and we'll talk some more. But listen, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you so much coming on, taking the time.
Well, it's fun to come on, and I will say this, and I'm not pandering to the Phillies crowd. I did grow up with it, albeit at Veterans Stadium. But I'll tell you what, Citizens Bank Park, when it's rocking, and it usually is,
it's crazy.
It is so much fun to do a game there because the energy level was electric. It's so much fun. It's so, and they do things right there too. Like we saw Salvador Perez hit his 300th career home run there. I went out to center field to talk to the fan, not knowing if I was going to get, the what kicked out of me, and he couldn't have been a greater guy. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Phillies fans they appreciate like Eagles fans. They appreciate it.
Yeah.
Give Scatterbo a standing ovation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that reputation has never going to stop. Yeah. And we're showing people that it's different now. It's different,
but yet that passion.
Yes, it's there.
Still there, and that'll never go away. And that's my childhood. I miss that greatly. But I'm a Midwesterner. I've been in the Midwest for 40 years now, but I still always have some of those roots. And I'll root for Philly when I get the chance. But it's great to be on with you, and look forward to doing it again.
Appreciate you, Joel. Thank you very much. Have a great holiday season. Happy Hanukkah when it comes up.
Thank you. Same
and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, Mitch.
Take care. All right, great conversation with Joel. Has been in the business for many, many years, and good to get his take. Now, somebody who has been in a business, but he's not near the age of Joel Goldberg, but he's funny and he's fun, and I appreciate him for what he did for me on Saturday night, last Saturday. Let's bring him on, Greg Mink, coach and play-by-play man for the Garnet Valley Jaguars. Hello, friend. How are you?
Mitch, how are you? It's good to be on, buddy.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on. Greg, short notice. Wow, what a game. Saturday night.
Yeah. I mean, for not having any familiarity between the two teams, Upper Perk and Garnet Valley had never played. I think Garnet Valley's only now been down in the 5A bracket for a couple of years. But no familiarity at all. And one of the things that the Central League teams, Haverford, Garnet Valley, Pencrest, Springfield, Strathaven, you name it, see all the time is that teams that don't play option, that don't have to defend option on a regular basis like all the Central League teams do, it's really difficult to try and come up with a defensive game plan. And just watching Upper Perkiomen all season on film, they not only didn't play option, almost all of their the opponents are in the shotgun, and the ball just comes so much faster when the quarterbacks are under center. And you saw it on some of those early touchdowns drives. I mean, Garnet Valley's first 3 touchdown drives were 5 plays, 2 plays, and 1 play.
It's nuts.
And you could see on some of those when you go back and watch it on film, the Upper Perkiomen defenders on the one long touchdown by Billy Krause.
Yeah.
Defender runs right by him, doesn't even know he has the ball. They just don't see it. They don't. It's a difficult offense, and they all those teams I mentioned in the Central League run different versions of triple option, whether it's split back veer or Delaware wing T or whatever it may be. It's just really hard to defend if you're not used to seeing it.
I think I mentioned this to you on Saturday. Paxton was going to be on, I was going to ask him, have you recovered yet from the game? I mean, over 214 yards, 5 TDs, punting, and playing defense. The kid had to be exhausted.
Yeah, he's something else. I mean, we've obviously been watching him play since he was a freshman, and then really been a starter since he was a sophomore at the varsity level, which is really rare at Garnet Valley, just because of the numbers. I mean, numbers are down a little bit, 82, I think, active on the roster right now, but year in and year out over the last 15 years, it's been right around the 100 mark.
Okay.
So it's tough for sophomores to get on the field, just physically, athletically. Yep. And he came right in and made an impact right out of the jump. But that's one of the things, high school football, you got a lot of guys that go both ways. And it's really a challenge for coaches as the season goes on to try and find spots to get guys off the field. And you saw that on the drive the other night. They went with Anthony Gifford, the number 2 fullback. And he had 4 straight carries and put it in for a touchdown. Yeah. But with a two-way guy like Paxton, he also punts. I mean, it's a challenge to try and get those guys rest when you can, but you don't want to take them off the field.
Exactly. I mean, and we were, you and I were in the same spot. Thank you very much. Up in that press area. It was awesome. Yeah. Just able to watch the entire field. And next to the guys who were spotting, Bill Winter was one of the spotters, I believe. It's Bill.
Yeah, right? Retired GV coach and teacher, George Winter. Sorry, George Winter.
George. I'm sorry, George. Yeah. It was great watching those plays develop. My concern, as it has been all year and for many, many years, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, that pass defense. So the pass defense, the first half, they were playing zone, obviously. And the quarterback was finding those spaces, and they were hitting. They were hitting that spot, and I was like, they got to figure out how to stop this because these guys are way, way open. Okay, so what happened in that second half that the Jags were able to shut them down, and I don't remember a lot of big pass plays or open pass plays. Am I right in the second half?
Yeah, well, a little bit of that, honestly, in the first half is. Again, with the unfamiliarity of a team like Upper Perk from the Garnet Valley standpoint, right? You watch them on film, but you don't truly know what you're going to get game plan wise until they come out and play. Garnet Valley went 3 and out, I think, defensively on the first 2 possessions, right? Which allowed them to jump to that 21-0 lead early in that first quarter. But one of the things you see is, especially with a quarterback like that kid Sabo from Upper Perk, he's only a junior. But he's a big kid. I mean, 6'3", I think, listed at 237. 230, yeah. He's every bit of that. I mean, I was down the field in pregame watching him warm up, and he is a big physical kid. I mean, and you sat in the box and you watched it. I mean, he used his legs, not to run, not to scramble, just to give himself some more time. And some of those throws early were broken plays, where it was sort of I don't want to say a coverage completion, but just him being able to keep the play alive for 7, 8, 9 seconds. And it's asking a lot for, any defense at any level to be able to contain wide receivers, running backs, whatever it may be in that defensive backfield for that length of time. So not so much a knock on Garnet Valley's defenders, but really just credit to Sabo for keeping plays alive and finding the open man. And I know that was, a lot of the message from the Garnet Valley defensive staff. Okay. The players. I mean, they obviously watched it on film. They have the luxury of the iPads now at halftime to try and make adjustments to see what they did on those first half possessions. But, Upper Perk's a good team, and we knew it coming in watching on film. They have talent. They switched to Sabo, I don't know, about the midway mark of the season at the quarterback spot. Okay. And really didn't look back. I mean, they had a win against Pope John Paul, who, if you look at the 4A bracket, Pope John Paul's only loss on the season was to Upper Perk. Oh, okay. They went in 9-1 and were the number 1 seed in District 1 in the 4A bracket. So Upper Perk was good. I mean, they lost a Unionville team early in the season. They lost their opener to Boyertown. And other than that, the only loss, prior to us last week was in the Spring Forward game. They lost 14-10 in that PAC conference crossover game that they do in week 10, the unscheduled game. But we knew that they were good. We knew that they were going to be a challenge, and physically to see them in person on the field. And, it was tough watching film, and because film's sketchy, some teams film's better than others. But you get on the field and see a team warming up. I mean, they had some big kids, and not just big, they had some really good athletes with size. So that's always a challenge. I mean, it's going to be the same thing this week down at Chester.
Before I get to Chester, so I was waiting to talk to Eric prior to the game come off the field, and the Upper Perk kids were coming off, and I was like, oh, we got a bunch of big kids here. Yeah, so I did notice that as they walked by me, and I said, oh, this could be interesting. Let's see how it happens. But I know how well coached our lines are, and it's just, again, I don't know anything about Upper Perk, so and then the offense exploding in that first, 3 touchdowns with 5 minutes and 38 seconds to go in the first quarter. I was like, whoa, we got this in the bag. But you know what? It ain't over till it's over. We saw that. Chester, have you seen film? What are we going to be looking at on Saturday at Chester with this team? Because they're seeded number 2 in the playoffs here in this playoff.
They are the 2 seed. They went undefeated. They had a scheduled game up through week 9, and they didn't have a week 10 game. And then Cheltenham, because of injury and issues with numbers on their roster, canceled their week 10 game against Quakertown. And Chester was able to pick up Quakertown and went on the road up there, up the Blue Route to a pretty good Quakertown team, a physical Quakertown team. Chester came away, I think final score was 31-16, but it was a pretty close game for a while. Probably the best team that Chester played in the regular season. Okay. Outside of the Del Val League scheduled games that Chester has, they have to try and find opponents. And so they go the way of some of the charter schools in Philadelphia. Okay. And then they picked up that Quakertown game in week 10. They're good. Chester has size. I mean, they have 2 tackles. I think one's going to Syracuse. He's like 6'8", 300 pounds. They've got some big kids. And they've got Jalen Harris, the quarterback, Deron Harris, who's the safety and running back. And they're just good. I mean, they have athletes all over the field. And what they've managed to do to teams all season, at least on the offensive side of the ball, is get the ball to those athletes in space.
Yeah.
Whether it's bubble screens, whether it's, 4-yard hitches, whether it's slants, just get those guys in space and use that speed and athleticism. And then it just turns into a track meet, which is exactly what Chester wants. I mean, they want to play fast, score fast, and it's how they won that game. They obviously went behind 10-7 against Marple last week in sort of a, slog fest with a bunch of penalties and some turnovers early in that game. And then they got the ball back with about 4 minutes left and hit a quick slant that, a 7-yard pass that turned into a 40-yard gain. And then they were able to score pretty quickly and took that 15-10 lead, I think with about a minute left. Marple got the ball back late, but had to go, 80 yards with a timeout and, just weren't able to get to string together some first downs. But Chester's good. They're athletic. They're physical. There's a reason why they're 11-0 now. And, Garner Valley's Coach Van Wyk and the 2 coordinators, Coach Burba and Coach Panapinto, the defensive coordinator, have to watch film and not so much look at what opponents did to them as much as look at what Chester's tried to do from an identity standpoint on both sides of the ball. And they are physical. I mean, they just come after you. I mean, they come with speed. They blitz a lot. They put a lot of guys in the box. Certainly with Garner Valley's run style offense, they're going to have 8 guys in the box, and they're going to try and shut down that inside run game of Garner Valley, I'm sure, and just try and dare GV to get outside.
Interesting. Okay. Because, I mean, listen, when I hear 8 in the box, immediately my head goes to a play action pass, right? I don't know if the Jags have a play action pass to get rid of that ball quick. So is that something we think that might happen on Saturday?
I mean, a lot of teams, you talk about college and NFL football, and you'll hear broadcasters say all the time, run the ball to set up the pass. That works both ways. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Garner Valley take a couple shots early.
Okay.
Just to show Chester that they're willing to.
They can.
You know, Garner Valley did that, you know, in games against bigger, more athletic teams in years past. Coatesville, you know, comes to mind. Downingtown West comes to mind. You see teams that want to pack the line of scrimmage like that and crowd those guys in there. The way to defeat that is to take some shots early. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be, you know, verticals downfield. Just throw play action to a tight end down the seam. Just to get receivers behind those linebackers and safeties, just to back them off a little bit.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that early.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Garner Valley. Also, you know, one of the things in that offense that you see is they've been successful with recently in the last few weeks, GV, is that toss game. You get the motion man coming off the wing. You have Adrian Krause and Billy Krause, the two wing backs for GV, and just get them with a full head of steam getting to the edge. You saw the Billy Krause's touchdown the other night, the second touchdown for the Jaguars. I mean, he went in basically untouched, other than, you know, the contact down at the goal line. And that was just based on having more numbers on the edge and being able to seal the edge, get them outside.
I love I've always loved the counterplay. To me, that is such a, I mean, and listen, the Jags have run it. When they've run it really well. It's just interesting that what the offensive line has to do, what positions they have to do to make that thing work. I think it's one of to me, and you tell me if I'm wrong, just as a fan, having never played football, it's got to be one of the most, I'm thinking maybe this is not the right word. Technically, you got to be technically good on the line to bring him. Look, it looks like it's going one way and they come back the other way.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at teams that run option at the highest level, NFL teams obviously don't. Division I,
right.
You know, Ohio States and of the world, Alabama don't.
Right.
But the Air Force academies do. I mean, you watch Navy and Army and Air Force run it, and the reason why they run it, and, you know, Paul Johnson for years ran it at Georgia Tech. The reason why they can compete against bigger, more athletic, more physical teams at that level even is everything looks the same.
Yeah.
From, you talk about technique and fundamentals, the key to counter is having everything on the counter look like dive or look like veer, and then run that counter coming back across against it. So, you know, the defense's challenge with defending counter is watching what's actually going on in the backfield and not just having wide-eyed follow the running back. I see him, I'm going to get him. And that's where the counter works. The counter works on teams that get over aggressive up front. Linebackers flow too wide. They've chased the play. And then you get back, you get one block on that backside, usually that kick out block. And it's, you know, you can be off to the races. Yeah.
Awesome. So here's my question for you on Saturday. I know, was it at Ridley that you were in the stands?
We were there's a few places in the Central League for sure where we end up in the away stands to broadcast from. Strathaven's box is super small. So when we were at Strathaven in the round 2 playoff game last year, Garner Valley won 35-34 in OT to move on to that rematch with Springfield in round 3. We were in the stands, Scott and I, and then we were in the stands at Conestoga earlier this season. Now they have all kinds of room. They just have a broadcast platform at the top of their stands. And then obviously the other night at Ridley in the Week 10 game, we were in the away stands, back of the stands. But yeah, at Chester, we will be in the visitor stands just like we were at Strathaven. We've already got a plan. I think our coaches are going to be over there too. We're going to set some room aside just to kind of rope it off. But we will be with the friendly Jaguar faithful. We've been there before. Scott and I actually love it. You get kind of a feel of being in the mix. You hear the cheers and the jeers and the the emotions both ways. So it's fun. It's fun to sit with the Jaguar fans.
And I don't know. I guess you got your headphones on and you're really more focused on than oh my gosh, all these people around. But I'm sure you feel the energy and that pumps you up even more.
It's fun. It's a fun atmosphere for sure. One of the things that the fans don't realize is they're on camera. So we have fans turning around and asking us questions about, hey, are you guys what do you see on the replay? Or, was he offsides? And they don't realize that they're on the camera.
That's great.
That's one of the challenges. We'll have to make sure we have we almost need a security guard.
You need a security guard. Hey, that's what I did with the Eagles for 3 years. I wish I could come up. Hey, I'm cheap. Pay my airfare. I'll come up.
There you go. 1
I'm in.
p.m. on Saturday. We'll be there.
I was going to ask you one more thing. I forgot. Oh my gosh, what was I going to ask? I don't know. Listen, you coach. You told me. I didn't realize that you did coach the kicking crew. I am a wannabe kicker. I would have loved to have been a field goal kicker. And I come from the old age. I'm not going sidewise. I'm going right behind it, right? The Luke Rosas,
You're going
not
old
the
straight on
Gogas.
Tom Dempsey straight
Yes,
on toe kicker.
yeah, not the Gogolaks that when what are they doing from the side? What is that? How do they kick that? So I'm a wannabe kicker. I was a really good punter. I would actually was able to kick spirals. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. This was in junior high school. I loved kicking. Didn't make any teams because, I'm 5'4" now and I wasn't much taller and bigger back then. Coach didn't want me on there because he thought I'd get killed. He was probably right. So I ended up managing football, but I love it. Love watching you guys. Love listening to you guys. Tell your partner to tape his mouth if he gets excited. We don't need you losing your
fine. We're good.
That is too funny.
We have fun with it. We
do. And you know what? That's what I like about you guys. When I hear other teams, they're such homers. It's absolutely insane. Okay, I get it, but it's high school, and I still get it. But you guys give both sides, and that's what I like about it. You're not necessarily a homer. You are giving the play. Yes, Garnet Valley, yeah, touchdown. You're going to be in Chester. You know what? You're going to compliment their players, and you do that and their plays. So I respect that. And I like listening to someone who does that more than the total homer.
Scott and I have been friends for a long time, and I think some of that comes through on the broadcast. He is a former offensive coordinator at Chichester, at Garnet Valley. He was a head coach for 5 or 6 years at Kennett. And he was an offensive coordinator at Ridley. So he's been around. And to hear him and his analysis is pretty remarkable. Good. I mean, he sees the game, he sees the X's and O's pretty remarkably. And so his knowledge of the game, and obviously my familiarity with the Garnet Valley roster and the Garnet Valley program, having coached for 23 years, really makes it, I don't want to say it makes it easy. You still have to go out there and do the job.
Right.
But I say all the time to anybody who, like you did, have the opportunity to come up in the box, it's a pretty impressive production. We have SFBN, our producer Kevin Connolly. We've got 3 different cameras, including one down at field level.
Yeah,
we got cool. Replays, we've got graphics. So
it's awesome.
They really do all the hard work. Scott and I joke all the time that he and I just put headsets on, and my job's easy. I just call what I'm seeing. Scott has to do the analysis part. Right. So we have fun with it. We love it. As long as they'll keep inviting us back to keep doing it, we're going to keep on doing it.
That's awesome. So I will tell you as we end, if I had known that he wasn't going to be there this week, I would have said, you need an analyst? I would have sat next to you and talked about the plays. But I won't hold
you had more fun sitting in the box. You had more fun doing what you did.
It was pretty fun. But I would have loved analyzing. Just putting that out there. Listen, thank you for what you do. Thank you for coaching. Thank you for doing the play-by-play. I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy listening to you guys. Hoping obviously for a win this weekend, and it's Saturday at 1. I will be home. I'm actually volunteering. They're doing in Wilmington here. Willie Stargell used to make his home here.
Oh, okay.
They do and there's the foundation. His foundation is here, so they do a charity golf tournament every year. I'll be volunteering Saturday and Sunday at the golf tournament. A lot of former Major League ball players and football players are going to be playing.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I'll be home at 1 o'clock on Saturday, so I'll be dialing you guys up.
Well, I will. I'll hit you up after the game and let you know how it looked up close and personal. We can talk about the result either way, win or loss.
Either way,
and, we'll follow up. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you having me on. I know you've had GV players all season, and Coach Van Wyk and everybody involved with the program appreciates you allowing all of us to express a little bit about what GV football is all about.
Love it. Just love it. It's in my blood. Again, as you know, my kids graduated. We went to games both at home and away, playoff games, more exciting wins than losses. We took the losses hard. Love the wins, but just love following the game at high school football at GV. So thank you for coming on tonight, Greg. Appreciate your comments, and look forward to the game on Saturday.
Yeah, we say it all the time. There is nothing quite like Friday Night Lights. I mean,
yes,
guys go on to play college football and whatever, but for high school kids that have had the opportunity to play with their same buddies and their same teammates. In fact, UIC, Brandywine Youth Club, this weekend has 2 teams, U9 and U11, that are playing in their league semifinals. And, in 8 years, those kids hopefully are going to be still playing together at Garnet Valley.
Exactly, which is good. Great. It's an amazing feeder program. Amazing.
Well, thanks for having me on, Mitch.
Thank you for coming on and taking the time. I really appreciate it. Go Jags.
Anytime.
All right. Take care, buddy.
See you, man.
Thanks. All right. We covered a lot tonight. Major League Baseball, the Phillies, the Eagles, the World Series, the potential lockout, Garnet Valley High School football. Glad you were able to be with me here tonight. So thankful to be able to do this in this format. Be back next week. If you're still with me, let me tell you who we got on. I know we had some really good guests on. I got to change my glasses. Next week is already November the 12th, Thanksgiving. Can you believe it? Holy mackerel, where does the time go? It's just unbelievable. So let me get to my quick Google Sheets. Here are my guests for next week, November the 12th. We have 2 coming on. Greg Rawlings, who runs this Facebook group, America's Pastime, about baseball. And he's got 500 former pros in this Facebook group. So we'll be talking about some baseball there too. And Dan Wallach, who will be talking about what he does in his formerly Shoeless Joe. He worked at the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum. No longer doing that, but we'll talk to him more about some more baseball. Future guests in December, author Dan Schlossberg. And we have, let's see, I'm trying to think of who else is coming up. November the 19th, we have Anna DiTomasi from the Baseball Bucket List. So lots of good folks, still hoping for some others that you may know of, like Jane Levy and Clint Hurdle. So we're hoping to get those folks on in the future. For now, it's time for me to go eat some dinner and go watch Survivor. And I, again, appreciate you coming on and staying with me here. Next week, Lou will be back. And we appreciate you being here, like I said. Everybody have a good week. Stay healthy and be safe and enjoy your week. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.